Hello, my name is Daniel. Thank you for being here with me today. If you enjoy real, heartbreaking cheating stories from Reddit, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. This is a story that's been haunting me ever since I read it. Not because of how loudly it hurts, but because of how quietly it breaks a person in half. The original poster, whom I'll call Lena, is 34 years old and lives just outside Flagstaff, Arizona. 2 months ago, she lost her husband, Aaron, and her sister-in-law in a sudden car accident. He was only 36. They had been together for 8 years, married for 6. Lena described Aaron as the love of her life, her steady light, the man she thought she would grow old with. She said they had one of those rare connections where everything just clicked. Their chemistry never faded. Even after all those years, just the thought of him could make her smile like a teenager with a crush. That's what made what came next feel like such a cruel twist. When Aaron died, Lena's world collapsed. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and couldn't bring herself to leave the house. She spent hours, days even, just watching their wedding video on loop as if it could bring him back. Her boss, thankfully, was understanding enough to offer her 4 months off work, no questions asked. By late November, she made herself a promise. She would try to rejoin the world, even if it meant dragging her heart behind her. She started cleaning the house, cooking again, hosting a few quiet dinners with close friends. She made herself available for Aaron's grieving family, too. After all, they didn't just lose a son and a daughter, they lost a part of their lives in one horrific moment. Lena said the shared grief somehow brought them closer. They cried together, sat in silence together, tried to pick up the pieces of something that couldn't be fixed. And then, one evening, while going through Aaron's belongings, Lena decided to check his laptop. At first, she told herself it was just to look for important emails or documents, insurance paperwork, maybe something related to the funeral costs. But when she opened his inbox and then his social media, something stopped her cold. On Aaron's Facebook, buried between hundreds of condolences and heartfelt goodbye messages, were 3 private conversations. One of them was with a woman Lena vaguely remembered from years ago, someone Aaron had once casually mentioned as a childhood friend. Curiosity turned into dread the moment she opened the thread. What she read shattered her. There were messages going back almost 2 years, photos, reservations for weekend trips he said were work retreats, descriptions of hotel rooms, inside jokes, flirty teases, intimate messages, hugs, kisses, declarations of love. They spoke like lovers who were making plans for a life together. Lena couldn't stop scrolling, even as her hands shook and tears blurred her vision. When she checked his phone, most messages had been deleted, but one call stood out. His last incoming call was from her. Still in shock, Lena called Aaron's best friend, a man named Tyler, who had always been like a brother to them both. When she asked about the trips, Tyler fell silent. And then, softly, he admitted he knew. He told her that Aaron had reconnected with the woman during a high school reunion 2 years ago, that something had ignited between them again, that he had begged Aaron to end it, but Aaron never did. Lena felt the ground vanish beneath her. Apparently, many of their mutual friends and even his personal assistant had known. No one said anything. No one warned her. She had been living in a lie, lovingly, while others watched from the sidelines in silence. She says she no longer knows how to feel. A part of her wants to mourn him forever. She misses his laugh. She misses their morning drives to work, their favorite coffee shop, the comfort of his arms wrapped around her in the middle of the night. But another part of her wants to scream, to claw at the earth and spit on his grave, because how could he do this? How could he love her and lie like this for so long? In the past few days, she hasn't returned a single call or message from his family. She knows they mean well. She knows they're probably worried. But how can she look them in the eyes when all she feels now is rage and betrayal? She said, "I just needed somewhere to let this out." So she turned to Reddit, because everyone she once thought she could trust either knew or is now gone. Lena wrote that she feels completely and utterly alone. And now she's left with a question no one should ever have to ask. How do you mourn a man who broke your heart and then died before he could ever explain why? I don't know how to face his family. How can I sit with people who still cry for him, still speak of him like he was whole and good, when I've seen behind the curtain? When I've read the messages that proved he wasn't just grieving alongside me in spirit, but also hiding a separate life in plain sight? We had a private funeral a few weeks ago. Just family, quiet, painful, full of trembling hands and tight embraces. But in a few weeks, there's going to be an open memorial, something more public, a space for friends and community to come and say their goodbyes. That's where my fear begins to grow. Because she might show up. The woman he cheated on me with. The one who called him just hours before he died. It's not out of the question that she might come to the reception, pretending to be just another grieving friend. But I'm not sure I could survive seeing her face. I keep imagining her stepping into the room, reading the photo displays like she belonged there, standing inches from the family who never even knew about her. And I'm torn. Do I try to prevent it? Do I quietly ask someone to block her at the door? Or should I just skip the memorial altogether, let others say goodbye while I stay hidden, unable to play the role of the loving widow anymore? Every thought makes me feel worse. I hate him, but I miss him. I wish he were here just so I could scream at him until the grief inside me burned itself out. But he's gone, and he took all the answers with him. I know there are people out there who believe we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, that death somehow wipes the slate clean. But that's not how this works. Dying doesn't erase betrayal. It doesn't undo the nights he spent in someone else's arms. I am grieving a man who no longer exists, and even if he were alive, I don't know if I could look him in the eyes anymore. Some friends have tried to tell me not to be too harsh. They remind me he's gone, that I should remember the love. But what love? The one he gave freely to another woman while lying to my face? And the worst part, so many people knew. Our friends, his co-workers, even his assistant, they all knew and said nothing. I've started to realize just how isolated I really was. How easy it was for everyone else to keep the secret that shattered my life. Still, among all the confusion, a few kind strangers online took time to comfort me, and I don't think I can express how much that has meant. One person commented that I should be honest with Aaron's family, not with every painful detail, but with enough truth so they understand why I've gone quiet. They said something like, "You can tell them, I found something in his email I wish I hadn't. I'm still grieving, but I need time to process this new pain. Please be patient with me." And maybe that's the best I can do. I don't want them to feel like I've abandoned them, especially after losing both Aaron and his sister. I don't have the strength to fake my love for him anymore. Someone else said to cut off the friends who knew and never said a word, and I think I will. Maybe one day I'll forgive them, but today is not that day. I've thought about the memorial a lot, about what it will feel like to stand there surrounded by people who think they're honoring a good man. I don't want to make a scene. I don't want to start sobbing in front of everyone, but I'm terrified that seeing her, if she shows up, will crack me open all over again. Another commenter suggested I ask a friend to quietly tell her not to come, that if she dares show her face, the funeral director should be informed she's not welcome, that this is not her place and never was, that I am the widow and I still have a right to protect my own space to grieve. I've decided to take that advice. I won't contact her directly. I won't engage. She means nothing to me now. She meant everything to him. That's the difference. And yes, I've already scheduled 2 sessions with a grief counselor for this week. It was hard to do, but I feel hopeful. Maybe there's a path forward through all this. I don't know where it leads yet, but I know I can't stay trapped in this place between mourning and fury. To everyone who told me I'm not crazy for feeling both, thank you. This isn't just grief, it's grief tangled with betrayal. It's mourning a man I thought I knew and waking up every day to realize I didn't. I still don't know how to forgive him. I try. Honestly, I do. I replay the good moments in my head, the laughter in the kitchen, the road trips with music blasting through the desert, his hand resting on mine during late-night movies. But every time I get close to warmth, I hit a wall. Because he knew. He knew what he was doing to me, and he still looked at me like nothing was wrong. He still kissed my forehead, still promised me forever, even while sneaking off to someone else. I've been to 3 counseling sessions now. My therapist, her name is Grace, is gentle but unflinching. I trust her, and that's rare for me these days. I'm so grateful I took the advice to get professional help. Without it, I think I'd still be trapped in that unbearable space between love and fury. Grace suggested that I step away from everything for a few days, especially from Aaron's family. The weight of pretending was breaking me. I wrote them a message apologizing for the silence, explaining that the grief had become too much and I needed space. I didn't go into details, I just told them I was overwhelmed and needed time. And then I left. I booked a spontaneous trip to Lake Louise, Alberta, somewhere I'd always dreamed of visiting but never got around to. Aaron always said it was too cold, but I went anyway. I walked along the frozen shore, I watched the sunrise over the icy blue water and let myself cry without holding back. No one there knew me. I was just another woman with a red nose and tear-streaked cheeks, and somehow that anonymity felt like healing. When I got home, I felt clearer. Not whole, but clearer. I knew I couldn't carry this alone any longer, so I made the decision to tell someone in Aaron's family. Not everyone, just someone. I chose his younger brother, Dylan, and his wife, Rachel. They were the only ones I felt might understand. There's something I haven't shared until now. Aaron's family has been my chosen family for years. I'm estranged from my parents, and my only real blood relative is my older brother who lives on the other side of the country. Aaron's family took me in with open arms and loved me like I belonged. That's why this was so hard, because I wasn't just afraid of being judged, I was terrified of losing them too. But I couldn't go to the memorial reception and pretend anymore. I couldn't plaster on a widow's smile and speak about Aaron like he hadn't been betraying me up until the day he died. I needed someone to know the truth, someone who could understand why I might not make it through that day in one piece. When I told Dylan and Rachel, I was shaking. I kept apologizing over and over for speaking ill of the dead, for tainting their memories. But Dylan just shook his head. He said I had nothing to apologize for, that the blame was entirely on his brother, not me, and he meant it. I cried when he said that, just burst into tears. It had been so long since someone stood on my side without needing to be asked. We agreed not to tell Aaron's parents or younger sister yet, not until I'm ready, not until it feels safe. But at least now I won't be alone in the room if something happens, if I need to leave, if I need to scream. Rachel has been a quiet comfort through all this. She and Dylan had been living abroad until recently, so we never really had the chance to bond before. But now we've started spending time together, grabbing coffee, walking through antique shops, even laughing once or twice. It's been so long since I lost track of time with someone. I didn't realize how much I missed that. And then, of course, there's her. I still can't bring myself to say her name. I don't want to speak it. I don't want her to occupy any more space in my life than she already has. But I couldn't ignore the possibility of her showing up at the reception. So I asked Aaron's closest friend, Eli, to handle it. He's the one who finally told me the truth. And even though I still feel betrayed that he waited so long, he's the only one I trust right now to do this for me. I told Eli flat out that he owed me this, that keeping the secret had a price, and this was it. He agreed, without hesitation. We called her together on speakerphone. She answered casually at first, but Eli told her straight out she was not welcome at the memorial. She could visit his grave on her own time, but she was not to come to the reception, not after everything. She didn't take it well. She went quiet when he told her I knew everything. Then she muttered something about being sorry, said she loved him. Then her voice cracked into nonsense, and the call went dead. Eli tried reaching her twice after the call, but she didn't answer. I think she got the message. She's not welcome. Part of me wonders if she feels any shame at all, or if this is just another complication for her to avoid. Either way, I've already made arrangements. Eli and two of our mutual friends will be at the reception entrance to welcome guests and, more importantly, to ensure she doesn't get anywhere near me. It's strange knowing I had to organize security for my husband's memorial. That grief alone wasn't what I was protecting myself from, but betrayal too, his and hers. The layers of pain keep folding in on themselves, and I don't know if I've even begun to reach the center. From what Eli told me, she's apparently been in a relationship with someone else for nearly 9 months. That news hit me harder than I expected. It made the betrayal feel even more pointless. What was she still doing in his life, calling him at all hours, planning to show up at a memorial as if she had some place in our story, when she had someone else the entire time? I don't know what to make of it, and honestly, I can't carry her mess on top of my own. I have enough weight to bear. So I've decided for now, I won't involve myself in whatever life she's living now. I have to focus on my own. Tonight, I'm having dinner with Dylan and Rachel, and for once, I'm actually looking forward to it. I never imagined I'd find comfort in a dinner where Aaron's name might still come up, but these days I've come to appreciate their presence more than I ever thought I would. They know the truth now, and they didn't turn away. In the quiet moments, I still think about him, about Aaron. The confusion hasn't lifted. Some days I find myself smiling at a memory, only to feel like I've been slapped a second later. The guilt of missing him battles the bitterness of betrayal, and I'm constantly losing to both. But things are shifting, slowly. I've found a strange kind of peace knowing that I'm no longer pretending, that someone else knows, that if I cry at the reception or suddenly need to step outside for air, I won't have to explain myself. Dylan and Rachel will understand. They've given me the space to grieve the man I thought he was, while still acknowledging the man he really became. To everyone who reached out to me after I shared my story, thank you. I don't think words will ever fully express what that meant to me. I read your comments again and again, sometimes in the middle of the night when the silence became unbearable. Your empathy helped me move forward when I wasn't sure I could. Some of you told me that grief and anger can exist at the same time, that I'm not wrong for feeling both, that love doesn't disappear the moment it's betrayed. It lingers, it echoes, and that's what makes it hurt more. You were right. I've started to accept that I don't need to force clarity where there isn't any. I can feel lost and still be moving. Others told me to cut off the people who knew about the affair and said nothing. And I have. I haven't answered their messages. I don't think I will for a long time, if ever. The silence from them now only confirms that their loyalty was never really with me. As for the memorial, I don't know how I'll feel when I stand in that room. I'm prepared for anything at this point. I might break down, I might feel numb, or maybe I'll just feel hollow. But whatever I feel, I won't have to fake it, and that matters. Aaron is gone. The version of him I loved died long before the accident. I just didn't know it. But the pain I carry now is real, and I'm trying every day to carry it a little more gently. I'm grateful that I told Dylan, that I chose to let someone in. It's made the unbearable just a little more survivable. And to those of you who are walking a similar path, grieving someone who betrayed you, please know that your pain is valid. You're not alone. Even when it feels like you're drowning in contradictions, like you're mourning someone you can no longer trust, it's okay. You're still allowed to grieve. You're still allowed to heal. My niece, Harper, and I used to speak only once a year, usually during the holidays when family obligations made silence impossible. It was always polite, always brief, and always burdened by the unspoken tension of everything we weren't allowed to say. So when I saw her that afternoon in a downtown cafe, her fingers gently brushing against another girl's, I knew immediately how fragile the moment was, and how much it must have cost her to live like that, in secret, under constant threat of rejection. When I posted online asking for advice, the responses were mixed but deeply human. Some people, like Gurnam GRTS10, told me that I should gently let Harper know I saw her, that I should ease into it, not confront, but support, that just knowing she had someone on her side, someone from within the family, could make all the difference. Others reminded me how lonely that kind of secret can be, especially when your own parents are the ones you fear most. There were people who said she might feel more comfortable if someone from the LGBTQ+ community joined us. One even suggested I bring a friend she could talk to, someone who'd walked that path and made it out the other side. That advice stayed with me, because no matter how much I cared, I couldn't pretend to understand everything Harper was going through. I needed help. So I reached out to Laura. She's gay, married, and one of the most grounded people I know. I told her everything, my fears, my guilt, my hope that maybe I could do something good here. Laura didn't hesitate. She offered to come with me when I met Harper, to just be a presence in the background, someone kind and safe if Harper needed it. Harper visited the next day. At first, she was hesitant, sitting stiffly on the edge of the couch like she didn't quite know whether she was welcome. We talked slowly, like two people unlearning the narrative others had written about us. She admitted my parents had told her awful things about me, that I was selfish, reckless, dangerous, but she never fully believed them. There had always been a small, quiet curiosity about who I really was, and now sitting across from me, she was finally seeing it for herself. We spent the whole afternoon talking about life, about school, about the freedom she never really felt she had. I told her she could talk to me about anything. I meant it with everything in me. That evening, Laura joined us, along with her wife, and we all went out for dinner. Something shifted then, like Harper finally felt she could breathe. She laughed more. She didn't flinch when Laura's wife touched her arm in passing. And later that night, when we were alone again, she told me she was a lesbian. Her voice cracked when she said it. She looked terrified, even though she already knew I knew. I told her that I would stand by her no matter what, that if she ever chose to come out publicly or to anyone else in the family, I would be there, and if she never did, I'd still be there. My loyalty wasn't conditional. Laura, bless her heart, looked Harper in the eye and told her she was welcome to call her any time for advice, support, or even just to talk. That moment, watching Harper hear those words, watching her realize she wasn't alone, it broke something open inside me. In the best way. Since then, Harper has visited me every weekend. We cook together, go on hikes, binge shows I'm way too old to understand. I've learned more about her in a few weeks than I had in 20 years. And she's happy. Truly happy. She has a girlfriend now, Nora, confident, bright, and unapologetically herself. They come over together, sometimes bringing takeout and other times just bringing laughter. Nora told me once that Harper has changed since we reconnected, that she smiles more, that she sleeps better. That wrecked me in a way I can't explain. For the holidays, Harper went home. I visited too, and we did the usual dance. Smiles, small talk, acting like things were exactly the same. But I could see the weight on her. My brother, her father, asked if she'd been seeing me. She told me later that she lied. She said no. We agreed that maybe it was best to keep some space for a while. The silence from my brother didn't feel like peace. It felt like the quiet before a storm. And last week, the storm finally came. It happened without warning. One moment, Harper was in her dorm room with Nora, probably laughing over some silly meme or planning their weekend. The next, her father, my brother, had barged in without knocking, without calling, without even announcing he was coming to town. He caught them together, and he exploded. Nora called me, her voice shaking. I could barely understand her through the panic, but I got in my car and drove like the road was on fire. It took just under an hour to get there, but every minute felt like a lifetime. When I arrived, I found Harper crumpled on the floor, her face buried in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. My brother was still there, shouting, his voice echoing off the dorm walls. When he saw me, he turned his rage on me instead. He screamed obscenities, spat accusations, told me I had poisoned Harper, turned her into something unrecognizable. He called me a disgrace, a corrupter, said I'd ruined his daughter's life. I brought the dorm's building manager with me, who had already called security. As they escorted my brother out, he turned to Harper and said words I will never forget. "You're dead to me." It was like watching a knife slide into her chest. I took Harper and Nora back home with me that night. Harper didn't say a word on the drive. She just cried, soft, broken sobs that came in waves. When we got back, I tried everything to comfort her. So did Nora. We made her tea, sat with her, held her, but nothing helped. The next day, Harper called her father. I think a part of her still held on to some hope that he would soften, that maybe, just maybe, he didn't mean it. But he answered and told her plainly that he didn't want a sinner in his family. After that call, she shut down entirely. She hasn't gone back to college. She barely eats. She barely sleeps. Most days she doesn't leave her room at all. The light that had started to return to her after coming out, it was gone again, snuffed out by people who should have loved her unconditionally. Watching her like this has been one of the most painful experiences of my life. I reached out to Grace, my therapist, desperate for guidance. She referred me to a colleague who specializes in trauma and youth therapy and helped me secure an emergency session for Harper. At first, Harper resisted. She didn't want to talk to anyone, but with gentle encouragement from Nora and me, she agreed to try. That session changed everything. Just a little. Harper came home afterward and ate a full meal for the first time in a week. She didn't talk much, but she didn't cry either. It felt like a step, small but real. The next day, I invited Laura, the same friend who'd helped Harper open up weeks earlier. Harper had always looked up to her. They sat in the backyard for over an hour just talking. I didn't intrude. I just watched from the kitchen, heart aching with gratitude. That weekend we went to the beach. Just us and a couple of Harper's close friends from college who had been worried but respectful of her space. We walked barefoot in the sand, let the wind whip through our hair, and for the first time in days, Harper laughed. It wasn't loud, it wasn't long, but it was real. I also contacted her school, explained the situation, and they agreed to let her take a leave of absence. They were kind, understanding, and supportive. It was a relief to deal with an institution that treated her with dignity, something her own family had failed to offer. Just when I thought we might have room to breathe, my sister-in-law called. She refused to speak with me and asked to speak with Harper directly. Harper agreed reluctantly. On the phone, her mother claimed she had calmed her brother down. She said they would forgive Harper, but only if she returned home, dropped out of college, and agreed to marry a man they had chosen. She told Harper this might be her only chance to atone. I braced myself for Harper to fall apart again. But she didn't. She said no. She told her mother that she would not change who she was, that if they wanted her back, they would have to accept her, completely. Her mother's response was cruel. She screamed that they would no longer pay for Harper's education, that she would not be welcome until she came crawling back in repentance. Harper was shaking when the call ended. I looked her in the eye and said, "You can stay here for as long as you want, and I'll pay for your college, every cent." She cried, but this time not out of pain, but out of relief. Cutting off your parents isn't something that happens lightly. It's not as simple as flipping a switch and walking away. For Harper, 20, it meant severing the tie to the only home she'd ever known, the place that held both her earliest memories and her deepest fears. When her father stormed into that dorm room, everything collapsed. The illusion of unconditional love died in that moment. And no matter how toxic things had been, that loss still broke something inside her. She grieved them, even as they pushed her away. The pain in her eyes when she realized her family had chosen pride over her, it's something I'll never forget. And yet, Harper stood her ground. She chose herself, maybe for the first time in her life. I can only hope that with time, patience, and love, she'll learn that who she is was never wrong. It just wasn't safe in the place she came from. I'm proud of her, and I'll keep standing beside her until she's strong enough to stand on her own. Stories like Harper's are heartbreakingly common. Many people, especially LGBTQ+ youth, are forced to choose between authenticity and acceptance. And that decision often comes at great emotional cost. If you're in a situation where someone, even a parent, asks you to change who you are to earn their love, understand this: real love doesn't come with conditions. If you're navigating a toxic relationship, especially with family, here are a few pieces of advice. Build a support system. Whether it's friends, chosen family, or professionals, surround yourself with people who accept you unconditionally. Set boundaries. It's not betrayal to protect your peace. Limiting contact or cutting ties is sometimes necessary for survival. Seek therapy. Trauma doesn't disappear on its own. Having a safe space to unpack years of pain can be life-changing. Don't internalize their rejection. Their inability to love you fully is not a reflection of your worth. And above all, remember that healing isn't linear. It's okay to feel grief, anger, love, and sorrow all at once. What matters most is choosing yourself every time.